My name is Era, and I'm the host of the Tamil Creator Podcast. I chat with creators from all over the world to share their stories and discuss hot topics in a way that I hope inspires, educates, and entertains you. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tamil Creator. I'm your host, Era, and today we have another awesome guest on the podcast. Her name is Luksimi Siva. The way I kind of know her is funny enough through her dad. I've known her dad for quite a bit. I actually didn't even know that was her dad for the longest time until I think it was Tamil Culture's 5-year anniversary party. But anyways, that's a story for later. But Lakshmi is a well-known singer. You might know her from kind of her not hits, one of her hit songs, but Sendura, which got like millions of views on YouTube. And that's when she got to work with famous uh, I guess producer, director, and she's also a teacher as well. But the focus for today will really be kind of on her path to kind of music stardom and like what else we can learn about Lakshmi as well. So Lakshmi, why don't you introduce yourself in your own words to our audience and maybe tell them a bit about like your upbringing and your family, and just we'll go from there.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. Um, again, my name is Lakshmi, for those of you who don't know. And I actually have been singing for quite some time, but none of us knew that I guess I would pursue a career like this in music and things would just blow up for me. But my journey actually started around when I was in kindergarten. I have parents who are very passionate towards music. And because of circumstances back home, they weren't able to pursue that. So they kind of encouraged me as a child to get into Carnatic music. I went to like dance lessons, so I did Bharatanatyam. I went to Vuna, and I did like other genres of dance and music. Um, and I was always involved in the arts, whether it was school or outside of school, and always watching performances, always in competitions, and like the music, the house was always filled with the arts. Even though my parents don't have a background in it, they just really appreciated it, and I guess they wanted us to kind of appreciate it just as much as they did. And it was when I was in high school that I really thought, hey, like I want to do this professionally. I want to see where this is going to take me. And so I applied to a bunch of universities to study music professionally, but the focus was Western classical music. So I studied opera, and I did a specialist in voice performance at U of T. And from there, again, I didn't know that one day I'd be singing for playback. I just thought, hey, I'd take the technique from this end and kind of weave that into what I was doing outside of school, singing Carnatic, singing Tamil film songs, and all of that. And because social media was kind of popping then, or that's when everyone was starting to put out music online, I thought, hey, why don't I just put some covers of songs that people really like or songs that I like to sing? So I was starting with YouTube covers, and then Instagram started with 30 seconds back then when we were putting out super short covers. And little did I know that Diaman sir would one day stumble by one of my covers and call me down to Chennai to sing for a top-notch movie, starring like Hansika and Jayam Ravi, Arvind Swami. Yeah, that's kind of how things went from there.
So like that moment when you got that message
Yeah.
and that invitation to Chennai, like were your first thoughts like, is this real? Like tell us like how you felt during that moment.
Yeah, so that message came to me when like it came to me through Instagram, and obviously Sir's page was verified, but again, you don't know who's managing the accounts and anything like that. And it wasn't even a phone conversation, it was through message. And so he said, "Can you send me some demos? I have a project that I'm interested in using your voice for." So it had initially started with the demos, and I actually didn't hear back from him for a couple of months. So I totally forgot about it. Thought, hey, maybe this didn't work out. And a few months after, I was actually at work. I'm a teacher. So he messaged, and like I didn't even know how to react. I was like, do I just drop everything and go home and take care of this, or like do I wait till the end of the day? And then he asked me for my contact, and it was more formal through a phone call. So I thought, like, so I was like, okay, hey, it's actually him. And it was interaction between me and him, not through third parties. So that's when I said, okay, I can trust him. I can go down and do this. So yeah.
And then, what was the turnaround time from when you got the message to when you were in Chennai?
So I believe I got the message when like in June of 2016. And I was in Chennai like within a few weeks. I was just waiting for him to say, okay, like we're ready for you to come down. Um, and by July, I was there.
And what was the reaction of like your family? So like your dad and mom, like how did they react to
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Well, even when they heard that he asked for demos, it was super exciting because we've never heard of anyone in our community go through with that. But we just didn't say anything because, with the industry, things happen, things sometimes don't happen. So I just wanted to confirm that this was actually going to go somewhere. So I just sent Sir my demos and left it at that. But they were just super happy and proud that, like their efforts went somewhere, I guess. Yeah.
And you also have siblings, right? You have a sister. Do you have any other
Yeah.
siblings?
I have a sister and I have a brother. Both of them kind of learned, I took lessons when they were younger, but they're now focusing on their careers and their education. So, yeah.
So now let's take us back to like, so you went to Chennai, you were kind of, you went there to kind of record this song and just
Yeah.
kind of, be part of this big thing that was happening. And, then after you recorded it, it kind of got released and then it got millions of views on YouTube. So you went from like working on your craft for many years. I didn't even know
Yeah.
actually you studied opera, which is interesting. And
Yeah.
then you got millions of views. What was life, or like, I guess, what was life like for you after that kind of big hit of Sendura and the millions of views on YouTube?
So, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a supportive community here. And so I always had that love, support, encouragement, and everyone always said like continue keep following your dreams, keep following your passion. But after that, it was like the world had opened on another level. And I had fans from like all over the world, and they were searching me up on Instagram or like writing Wikipedia posts about me and like creating who this Lakshmi is, right? But I think right after I had sung the song, I wasn't in Chennai. I came back home to Toronto. So people didn't even know, like, who is this girl? Where did she come from? Until Iman sir posted this one post on his Instagram saying, I just introduced this voice from Toronto, Canada. And then that's when everyone was like, okay, she's Canadian. She flew down for this. So it's a foreigner. She's not even from India. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you're like a verified blue check mark on Instagram now, which is crazy. I
Yeah,
was like,
that was exciting. I woke up one day and that was there, and I was like, okay.
oh, so you didn't have to like apply for it. It just kind of just showed up.
No, yeah.
That's so random. And yeah, I think I was like looking you up like a couple weeks ago and I noticed like the Wikipedia page. So I guess some fans, like some really diehard
Yeah.
fans created that page for you.
Yeah, it's funny because one day I was reading through, or like I was looking something up and my Wikipedia page came up, and so I clicked on it because I know from time to time it changes because people can contribute to it. And I guess it was one of the kids at my school that typed something in. So it's like, oh gosh, this is not supposed to happen, but okay.
That's really funny. It's really interesting that because most people that I've talked to kind of in the creative arts space, whether they're
Yeah,
like a singer, musician, actor, etc., most times I've talked to them, their parents have not been supportive initially, at least it took like a while, or they
yeah.
had to kind of do it in secret. Like, like I have like my best friend was like doing acting like secretly, he didn't tell his parents for like 2 or 3 years until they saw something on TV of his.
Hmm.
So it's really kind of nice to hear that your parents were, even though they weren't creative themselves or had that in them, they really
Hmm.
supported like you from a young age and your passion towards
Yeah.
this.
And I
And you
think, sorry to interrupt.
no,
I
go ahead.
think like when I told them I was going to go into music, like my parents, they didn't even know where to begin to kind of support or help me, because like commonly we know that a lot of people from our community would go into something business related or science related or engineering. But now when that's opening up a bit more and people are following their passions, they're following what they really want to do, which is awesome. But they did say, we're going to let you do what you want, but we hope you understand that we don't know how to help you or like which way to guide you after you're done. So you're kind of on your own from there. So that scared me a little bit, but I had some confidence that, I could work something out. And I was a little, rather than telling myself this is what I wanted to do, I was also thinking, let me just see how this goes, where this is going to take me. So,
I mean,
yeah.
what's amazing, I feel like I don't know if you take it for granted, but it's like based on conversations I've had, the type of conversation you just expressed that you have with your parents, it's so unusual. It's like very refreshing to kind of hear that. So
Yeah, I've been blessed that way, and I'm so grateful for them that, they've kind of given me the space to follow my dreams. So yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit on this earlier, like, whenever people think of artists or people in the creative arts, there's always kind
Hmm.
of this image of the starving artist kind of image of, struggling to kind of make ends, like ends meet while you're kind of working on your craft.
Hmm.
So you kind of touched on it earlier. I guess for you, you're also a teacher in addition to kind of balancing kind of your music aspirations. So tell us about that. Like, how do you balance your time and energy and
Hmm.
attention towards the two things that you do in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult. I'm not going to say that it's easy because teaching is one of those things where you need to be invested. Like you're a role model to these kids. You're creating like new citizens, right? So it takes a lot out of you, especially in our current circumstances of COVID. Like you're not just teaching them like curriculum, right? You're taking care of them and their mental health, and you're always there to support. So that way, I mean, it is a little tiring, but I do enjoy the teaching part of it and the music part of it. And, I try to prioritize my music as much as I can. And so currently they're both running as though I'm doing them both full time. Some days it is exhausting, and the creative mindset to sing is just not going to be there. But I've told myself that that's okay. Like every day is not going to be perfect. Some days your voice is just not going to cooperate. The creativeness is just not going to flow. That's okay. Put it away for a bit and then try again the next day or in a few hours.
This episode is sponsored by nobody. That's right, nobody. So if you could be kind enough to hit that subscribe button, that would mean a lot to me. And what made you choose to, like, was there a point where you were like, hey, maybe I should maybe not do teaching or like do a really low number of hours and like focus on the music, or were you just like, you know what, I'm gonna do both? And if so, at like what point, if that's a choice you want to make, do you want to
Hmm.
focus on just music? Like what's your thought process there?
I don't know yet because so far everything's just been very unexpected, and I kind of want it to go that way. Not saying that like I don't want to take on music professionally full time and let it be that, but with everything that's happening right now too, not being even able to travel to do the concerts or travel to Chennai to record. I've just built that connection of being able to record things from home and sending things over as necessary. So yeah, just we're doing both things full time for right now.
So in terms of like the music, so right now, you create music for yourself and you release it on like your pages.
Hmm.
Do you also get like reach outs to, like, I'm not very familiar with this space, but like, so do you also get reached out to like say folks from like Chennai looking for music specifically and they want to hire you and like it's like a paid job to like produce this kind of music, or like how does that all work?
So I get, obviously if anyone has a project, and if they think that your voice is going to best suit, their end goal, or they want my voice for their project or their film or for their character, they'll reach out to me. They'll let me know what the project is. Sometimes I don't even know where it's going. They'll just say, I have this song. Can you record it and send it to me? Oftentimes it's, can you do it right now or tonight and just send it because of the time difference. Um, I've like personally, I've been taking some time to work on like independent music. So I think it was last July. It's going to be a year soon. I put out my single "Far Away," and I wrote that and worked with a producer named Rianjali. She lives in the States. So the film side is one thing. Again, I work on a lot of collaborations with artists from around the world. I've worked with some people in Europe, some people in Chennai, some here. We have so many talented artists here. Um, yeah, so there's just a lot of different things going on.
Got it. Well, I guess what I was
Yeah.
trying to get at was just trying to understand if you're trying to make a living as a musician, like especially
Hmm.
in kind of your specific genre,
Yeah.
how does somebody go about trying to make a living that way as well?
Well, I guess it's, there's just so many artists out there, and within music it's not just the singing part of it, right? Like you
Mm,
could be a producer, you could be a lyricist, you could do the additional programming. There's so many different pieces that come together at the end of things. So like, explore your craft, become comfortable, make the connections, and like, we have social media is such a huge platform right now to like reach out to others, share your content, send demos, and yeah.
got it. So I guess you're saying that's kind of how you'd go about making it as a living, but I guess like this is more
Well,
of a
right,
fast.
with, yeah, I mean, as a living though, like, you put out your original content, and you do the concerts that you get. I mean, right now we're not doing any live gigs, right? Everything's virtual. But with the film industry, like, you have things that are paid, you have things that are not paid. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that,
Yeah,
but like, you
yeah,
know how
yeah.
things work, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
I see. Got it. Okay. No, because I was super curious because I know with music or like there's other things where there's like things like royalty, like I know with film where
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
TV shows like you get like ongoing every time it's played.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of fascinated
There's
by
a
the
there's
business
a
of it.
lot of stuff in there.
I see. We'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, you kind of touched on this earlier with concerts. I was very curious about that. Like, I think you've traveled to a few different places to maybe do concerts or shows around the world. Maybe tell us about one of those experiences and like how that was and how did that kind of opportunity come about for you?
Yeah, so before Sandura, I was primarily traveling for like competitions. So in 2006, there was a competition here called IBC in Nisekural. So there was like a junior and a senior. So I kind of won. I placed first in the junior contest here. So they sent me to London, where I was competing against like anyone who ranked first in Europe. And so that was like, through competitions is where I was traveling for singing. But after Sandura, a lot of people had invited me to do live concerts and things like that. And I got to kind of tour with Iman Sir, to sing for his concerts. So we did one in Europe. We did one here in Toronto. We were supposed to have one in Chennai, but unfortunately that didn't work out. But yeah, a lot of memories and a lot of opportunities there. I do miss it all because it was, sometimes it was just hopping on a plane, coming back home, going to school, and then you just repeat that pattern for a bit. Yeah.
Hmm. And you kind of mentioned how sometimes it can be a grind, right? Obviously, because you're also a teacher, you're doing
Hmm.
music, and when there's traveling a lot, you're traveling, so it's all
Yeah.
exhausting. So, what is your process for like finding inspiration to create your music and your craft?
Yeah.
And are there any particular musicians that you find inspiration or like you are inspired by them?
Hmm. Um, well, music has changed quite a bit over the years, right? And like, especially coming from our Carnatic background, like, I was always listening to film songs growing up. And then, we had the Backstreet Boys, we had the Spice Girls, and things just kept evolving. So, um, and I don't specifically just listen to one genre of music, or like one genre, or one language. Like, if you pull up my playlist, it's literally like international buffet where you have a little bit of everything. Um, but I kind of like to play on different sounds, kind of sit down and experiment with things. And when I'm writing, I like to write based on experiences that I've had or things that are happening around the world. And that's kind of actually how Far Away came together, because it is talking about like loss. And when I was writing it, it was, at the time, I just felt like people around me were losing loved ones, or like, moving far away from friends and loved ones, and a lot of things were happening around the world. So I kind of draw on that. But then it also comes to what your listeners really like to listen to and what's trending. So kind of putting everything together. Um, yeah, and sometimes it'll hit, sometimes it's a miss. So I guess that's kind of the scary part. You don't know, like, you're working towards this and you put so much of your passion and love into this project, and then we don't know how the audience is going to perceive it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel like that's a message I've heard consistently from anybody, like even like this podcast. There's some that I'm like, oh, you know what, I think it'll do well, and then there's other totally unexpected ones. So
Yeah.
the only thing you can really control is the process of kind of creating. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, like you said, there's some things you can do, like identify trends, what's hot, what isn't.
Hmm.
But again, really, some the people try to replicate virality or like something that's popular. But again,
Yeah.
it's very subjective. For
Right.
me personally, and maybe for you, it's the same. I do this podcast for me and also like meeting interesting people and having interesting
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
And hopefully people also resonate with it. Do you have a similar sentiment with your music where you just, is it mainly for yourself and hopefully other people will kind of resonate with it
Yeah.
as well?
I mean, and that's how it started too, right? Like it is my passion towards it, and it's something that I really connected to, something that just like took me into this free, happy place. And then I saw how people were reacting to it and how supportive people were. And of course, like your fans are kind of the people who allow you to grow, right? And take you places as well, apart from like the talent and all the work you put into it. So then you take in their input and you kind of look at the trends, and yeah, you do a little bit of research or you look at what's trending, but like what's working for someone else is not necessarily going to work with me, right? And like we could try all the possibilities that are out there and we can try all the songs that are trending, but I don't know, maybe one person's cover version of it took off because of something that they did, and maybe something that I did worked for some listeners but they couldn't really connect to it. So yeah.
You talked about friends. So like, since like your interests, like you're a teacher, but you're also like your big passion is music. Do you find
Mm.
that naturally you gravitate towards other people that are kind of in the music or like creative space versus like, or do you have like friends that are not in that space? Like, tell us about that.
Yeah. um so I try to, how do I say this? Okay, I do have my friends, but like because of all the time I invested with extracurriculars, with some of them it wasn't really the closest relationship because it's like she's always so busy doing something that's not with us, right? And I guess that's one of the things I regret, because growing up I didn't have a lot of that family time, or that time with my friends. But I mean, my bestest friends, they're still like, we still stay connected and they still support my music, even though they don't know how the industry works. But yeah, a lot of my friends are, within the music industry, and it's always a lot of music talk, or, sharing. Did you hear this? Did you hear that? I love the singer's voice, or I love what they did with this part in this song. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always curious because like for me, I'm the same way with like entrepreneurship or like anything business related where
Yeah.
or like even sport, like there's certain topics you're like you gravitate towards people and spend
Yeah.
time with people when they have the shit, I mean, share the same passion, but it's not always true. That's
Yeah.
why I was curious if you had a couple of those friends that were like, even before made it big in music,
Yeah.
they knew you as like before, who
Yeah.
like the younger version of you. So
Yeah.
I'm just
And I
curious.
guess like with like two of my best friends, it's, no matter what heights I reach or whatever what I'm doing, it's Lakshmi is still Lakshmi to us, right? She's the girl that we met here in Scarborough, and we grew up with our memories and we went to school together, and they're super supportive, and they're always there to root me on, like cheer me on and root on for me wherever I am. But it's, I am who I am to them, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you know that every time you left a 5 out of 5 review for this podcast, a Tamil parent lets their child pursue a career in the creative arts? Okay, that's probably not true, but if there's a chance that it is, do you really want to jinx it? Leave a review. Do it for the young creative in you. Well, I'll ask you this. So, what's a big win that you've experienced in the last 3 to 5 years? And then we'll kind
Mhm.
of go into a failure as well in that same time period. So, let's start with the win.
Yeah, I guess the biggest win, like apart from Sandura, was like recently. It's the most recent one was being able to be a little vulnerable and put out the music that I created, because that is that is a little scary. Like I put it all together and then, it's like doubting yourself, right? Like are people actually going to relate to this? Like is it going to go somewhere? And especially because of the topic that my song kind of surrounded was mental health, right? So again, with that, there's a lot of stigma, or there's a lot of people who hesitate to open up about that. So just the way how that was perceived and where it went, like I'm so grateful to everyone who kind of supported me through that and encouraged me. And even today, I was talking to someone and they're like, "When are you gonna put out your next single, or what are you doing in like the independent music side of things?" And there have been like all these awards and all these recognitions that I am proud of. But like I dedicate all of that to my parents or like the teachers that have invested so much um, time into write, because they've been a big part of my journey. Failures would definitely, I mean, there are a few. Again, with this industry, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work. And that could be like project wise, or um, and sometimes I just feel like because I'm between two careers, I'm giving as much as I possibly can, but is it enough, right? I'm one of those people that's kind of like a perfectionist, and that drives me crazy because I don't know, it just adds to my stress all the time. I'm like constantly thinking, did I do this right? Or if something's not working for one of my students, is it my fault? Or like, did I do something wrong? Is it because I'm so busy trying to figure out so many things? Is it affecting? I just need to learn how to chill. So a lot of people have told me that, just like, believe in yourself, you're doing a good job, just relax. Yeah.
I think perfectionism is like a double-edged sword. I mean, I think it probably makes you a great artist, but it's not. But probably at times it probably overstresses you
Yeah.
as well. So
And
I
I,
think
and I think another thing with that is like, like you see that content is always being put out, and sometimes you don't have the creative mindset to do that, or you just don't have the time to always sit there and create content. So I've kind of learned how to build myself a schedule of like, okay, on the weekends you're going to do this, and then on the weekdays you're going to do this. But I don't want to experience burnout, because especially in the current times that we're in, it's something that can happen. So working with a schedule and then taking some time to just relax, for me, that's kind of how I'm breaking things down right now. Yeah.
I like it. Great approach. So where do you see yourself in like the next 35 years?
I don't know. Hopefully, times change and all this COVID stuff kind of eases down. I would like to get back to traveling and performing, and just being there in India to experience the music and building those connections, because it's one thing to work from overseas, but it's one thing to actually be there and live it and do the craft being there. So I would like to do that. I also love what I'm doing right now, because with kids, every day is like a new day, right? You have your new challenges, new learnings. I inspire them, they inspire me. So it's hard to say. But I am working on my own music right now. So I'm kind of, I just want to see how that's going to take off as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you like to do outside of work? Like you're busy with teaching and music. So
Mhm.
what do you like to do for fun?
I am a big, like, I love nature. So if I can get out of the house and, just spend some time with loved ones, whether that's hiking, or my biggest thing is just sitting by the water and not talking, just listening to the water. I love doing that. Um, I love binge watching on Netflix. That's just one of the things that I've acquired over COVID
Would you say that
lockdown times.
would you say that you're like more introverted than extroverted, or like in between?
I would say I'm in between.
In between. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, I thrive on like being around people, and I love making new friendships and meeting new people and all that. But like the downtime that I've gotten through this lockdown period, it just, it's nice because I've never had that. Life has
Mm.
always been very go 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 until all of this happened and everyone has just had to park themselves down and stay at home. So yeah.
I think a lot of people are like been forced to slow down and just think about like their choices and why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
So
and at the beginning it was definitely hard, especially because when you're so used to always being on the go and there's no time to just sit down. Um, and then all of a sudden, you hit like you hit the brakes, and sometimes it's like, am I supposed to be doing something right now, or is it okay to have this time off and just relax? So that it took me some time to get over that, but I guess I'm okay now.
yeah, I think some people have like I mean, I know I did it at times as well, where sometimes you distract yourself with activity to
Yeah.
not think about things that you're dreading or like, you've been
Yeah.
putting off. In terms of personal legacy, how, in a few sentences, would you want your friends and family to describe you?
Um, I don't know. That's a good one. Well, I want to be known as like the fun, selfless girl that I am, because even before this, I really love being there for people and like helping people and just putting a smile on their face. That's just naturally been one of the things that people remember me for. So I'd like to continue that way, because a lot of people, and it's funny because after I went to Chennai, they said, make sure you keep your feet planted on the ground, like, don't be flying in the sky, and like, forget all of us that are here back home. And sometimes the fame gets to you and you become a whole different person, but I would like to be remembered as the girl who, even though she left Toronto to do whatever she did and follow her dream, she stayed the same.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, so similarly, I guess, what would you tell your like younger self? Say you're like 14, 15, 16. Like, what would
hmm
you tell yourself? Like your younger version of yourself?
Um, I guess growing up, I was really scared, just because, again, I was surrounded by a lot of talented musicians here, right? Because the time I was growing up and I was in all these lessons, we had all these kids who were competing here, competing there, taking on multiple lessons with school, and they were like excelling. So, I just sometimes I would take a step back and said, okay, even though I'm practicing at home or singing in class, like maybe I should just keep it at that. But like, you do you, and it's okay if you fall, just keep going. Sometimes we all go to competitions and things just don't work out. Maybe you had a bad day, you didn't sing well, don't beat yourself over that, just keep on going. um, and even though I would have those days where I questioned myself, I've been so fortunate enough to have like mentors and family and friends who just encouraged me to keep going. Definitely, if I didn't have them, I don't know if I would be here where I am today. So,
In terms of like a book or a podcast or whatever
mhm.
your way of learning is there like something like, let's just say, a book or podcast that you've recently consumed that's really impacted the way you think or like live your life?
Mhm. Um, I think there's like Shonda Rhimes, there's Lily, there's Bex King, a lot of motivational things that I like to read or listen to. Because I guess it comes back to, again, I'm very critical on myself, and we're exposed to so many things, so many artists, and we make ourselves vulnerable and we put ourselves out there, and sometimes there are times of doubt, or sometimes like when you're not doing enough. Well, for us, when it seems like we're not doing enough, it takes a toll. So I really like to read or listen to motivational stories, motivational speeches. It just gets me going. Yeah, keeps me on the positive side of things.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
What about, like during COVID, you mentioned there's a lot of, people being challenged by it. So maybe even outside of it, but like, what's a belief, behavior, or habit that you've kind of developed, say, in the last couple of years that's really improved your life?
Being able to put the technology away and just take some time for myself, right? Especially like, after all the film stuff took off, like you're just constantly online sometimes checking out what people are saying about you, what people are commenting, are they responding to your music? And it's like it's mentally tiring, exhausting sometimes to constantly think about that. And some mornings you see something that's a not so good post, and that just it takes the day in a different direction that I didn't want it to go into. So I tend to just take some time to keep all of that away and keep myself grounded to where I am, spend time with my family, and yeah.
How do you do that? Like in terms of like, do you have like a fixed time every day that you don't look at a phone or like a screen or?
Yeah, like when I wake up, not that I won't look at it, like I'll look at it, and if there's anything super important, especially because I'm teaching, like I'll attend to that, but I try not to go on social media first thing in the morning or like right before I sleep. Like I just need to take an hour to myself to wake up and be fresh and start off the day on a good note.
Are you a morning person or do you like to sleep in when you get the chance?
I like to sleep in when I get the chance because I haven't got that. Like
Oh,
growing
okay.
up, again, with everything that was happening, I never really got to sleep in. But I've become a morning person. I'm not. I used to stay up at night, and I was, living that life. But yeah, things are slowing down a little. And it's funny when I tell people that they're like, "You're still in your 20s. Don't talk like you're old." I'm like, "No, your system needs a break."
Money can be hard to come by, but here is a $100 opportunity for you. Join my free newsletter for free exclusive content and a free chance to win $100 when I hold special draws. Did I mention that it's free? What about like the like Tamil community like in
Mhm.
Toronto? How has that like how has the community here really impacted you on a personal and professional point of view?
Yeah. I think I mentioned this earlier just a little. I've been so fortunate to just be surrounded by a circle that's very invested in the arts or just very passionate by it, whether it be friends that I met in lessons or just my immediate family, right? They've always been supportive, even when you have your small setbacks or failures. um and it wasn't always perfect. Like when I decided to pursue music professionally in school and take that on as a career there, because it's not something that just happens in our community, right, or in any community for that note. um there was a lot of questioning there of, what are you going to do with this? Do you see a future in this? Because you have to start a family, you need to get a job, like you need to think about your life. But I've just been so fortunate to have my parents as well, who were like, nope, she's going to take this on and she's confident and we have faith in her. So let her do what she wants to do. Yeah.
It's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
who is somebody from the global Tamil community, anybody that you admire and why? And maybe who is somebody that isn't Tamil, like a non-Tamil person that you
hmm
admire and why?
Um, well, I guess it's in 2008 when Paper Planes came out and Slumdog Millionaire came out by MIA. And I was still in high school then, I guess grade 9 or grade 10. And I heard the song and I was becoming familiar with who she was and just being introduced to this artist because I've never heard of her before that. And I thought, whoa, like same background as us, right? And she pursued music and like look at where it took her. And I was like slowly learning about her achievements and about her other songs. And that's another thing that kind of impacted or influenced my decision into pursuing music professionally. I was just so amazed by the amount of talent she had too, and she like owned herself, and she's such a strong personality. So I would say MIA is one. And in recent times, um, someone who's not from our community, there's like Jonita Gandhi, there's Sasha Tirupati. These are all artists who are Canadian and have stepped out to India and are thriving in their craft and in the film industry and not necessarily knowing Tamil, right? Being able to sing in those different languages and building a fan base. But then you look at like Tori Kelly and you look at Shawn Mendes, who kind of started. I mean, their stories are not exactly like mine, but it started with like Vine videos or videos that they would put up online of them singing with their guitar, and it kind of took off in a way that they probably didn't expect it to go in. So yeah,
Yeah, it's great to kind of see more and more Tamil people, young Tamil people kind of get into
yeah.
music. Uh,
And it makes me so happy because when I was younger, it was always like traditional classical forms of music. Like you went to Mridangam, you went to your Bharatanatyam class, or you went to Carnatic or violin, right? But now you see kids doing so many different things with it, and collaborating with artists all around the world, or like fusing styles together and creating all these things. And it's just so amazing to see how things have changed over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned like Shawn Mendes, and there are these Tamil sisters.
Yeah.
Their names
Uh,
are is it Nivi?
yeah, Nivi and I forgot the other sister's name, but
Yeah,
starts with a K. Yeah.
but it's like really cool because like they really blew up on TikTok, and like I think they were like on
Mm-hmm.
breakfast television. They did
Yeah.
a collaboration with like Jason Derulo.
Yeah.
So you see people like that. And then I have like, younger family friends as well that are kind of getting into like their love
Yeah.
is music. And like, I
Mm-hmm,
think just
mm-hmm.
kind of seeing other examples of folks like yourself and other people doing that on a bigger stage gives them
Yeah.
confidence that, hey, someone that looks like me, like just like you looked at MIA, you're
Yeah.
serving as you and like other folks in your generation are
Mm-hmm.
serving as a role model to younger
Yeah.
people saying, oh, I could do that
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, and I guess when I was younger, of course, we were watching all these concerts of like Chitrama or Yeshudas or and Janaki Ma, but like even and Shreya Ghoshal, right? So like we were watching all these concerts, but like, was there a real connect? Like, was it a younger person that was around my age who was doing that, right? And how was I kind of being represented in it? And then I slowly saw that with MIA, but the kids now, I think they really see that there's a possibility if you try, and you take that challenge, you experiment, you explore different things, and you just put yourself out there. Yeah.
I think with social media, I think there's obviously negatives and people talk about it, but the positives
Yeah.
is kind of transparency around, oh, I mean, whatever you decide to share, but everyone seems a bit more real on social media, even if they're like,
Hmm.
a bigger star. It's like they're just
Yeah.
accessible. So I think that's like
Yeah.
the beauty of social media.
Hmm.
What's a piece of advice that you would give to your fellow aspiring, Tamil creators out there?
Yeah. um like it's great that you have a passion or love for what you're doing, but I think you should really take the time to explore that craft and invest in that craft and grow. Because yeah, it is tempting to just start putting yourself out there because it worked for worked for someone else and they became viral. And it's not about the number of posts you put out, right? Like, it's what work did you do prior to that, or how much time did you invest in it before you just put yourself out there? Because I feel like people are more informed now and they know what quality is. So, of course, follow your dreams, follow your passion, but take the time to grow and learn and study. Yeah.
That's a great way to end off the serious part of the discussion and get into what I call creator confessions. Like I said, it's a
Okay.
speed round. I'll ask you questions and you just kind of say what the first thing that kind of pops into your head.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
Okay, favorite Tamil food.
Kotrati.
Something that scares you.
Um, COVID.
Yeah.
Currently COVID, but I'm actually really scared of thunder and lightning. Like, that's just been something
Me
from when
too.
I could hear it and that's it. I'm up for the rest of the night. I'm
Oh my
terrified.
wife makes fun of me, but like when we're like in a condo, if I see lightning or thunder, I like
Yeah.
I instantly try to go into like the bathroom or somewhere where there's like no window, so I don't have to see it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm terrified. Okay, so I thought I was the
No,
only
no, no,
one.
that's me. Like if I'm outside and I see like lightning or thunder, I just run to my car. Forget
Yeah.
who. Like if I had my kids with me, I'm gonna probably forget them and just like get my own.
Yeah.
Favorite show that you're watching?
It used to be Grey's Anatomy. Right now it's New Amsterdam, but that's done. So I currently started Lucifer on Netflix.
It's so funny. I watched like one or two episodes of New Amsterdam. I thought it was I
Yeah.
liked the premise of it, like the first couple episodes, but then
Yeah.
when I found out that spoiler alert, that he was kind of dying, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this.
I
Uh,
really love things that are, science medicine related.
yeah,
Like, I can't see myself being a doctor or a surgeon. I'm terrified of blood and needles, and that just doesn't work for me. But apparently watching it on screen is fine.
Lucifer is it's a pretty decent show. I like the premise
Yeah.
of it. Um, a place you're itching to travel to after the pandemic is over.
Bora Bora.
Oh wow, okay, that's definitely on the list too. Hopefully, it doesn't
Yeah.
like get submerged underwater before I get to go. Fellow Tamil creator you want to give a shout out to?
Oh my God, there's so many of them. Um,
You can pick a
the
few.
most recent one. Okay, there's like Cybrinda, there's Medushin out in UK, there's like Sarika, Magisha, Gobi Raj. There's so many people that I grew up with here. And I'm sorry if anyone's listening to this and you think I've forgotten your name. No, it's just there's so many people out there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Favorite childhood memory?
Going to an A.R. Rahman concert.
Okay.
Uh,
Pet pet peeve?
I
You
don't know.
can pick any of them. You have so many. You can pick one.
Just like cleanliness and things like that.
What do you mean cleanliness?
I don't know. We're just gonna leave that one there.
Okay. A person slash celebrity you look up to.
There's so many. Um, a lot. Okay, any artist who has left their comfort zone and their normal life to kind of pursue their dream right now, I really look up to them. I really respect them. Yeah.
A celebrity whose life you'd want to experience for one day.
ARM answer?
You're like the second person who said that. Okay.
Yeah.
And PSA that you want to leave our audience with.
Um, Never give up on yourself and have faith.
Awesome. Well, that you got through pretty well. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for, hopping on the podcast and sharing your journey
Yeah.
and your wisdom. I
Thank
think
you
people
for
will enjoy
having me.
it. Yeah,
Thank
no.
you.
If people want to, they've been, they're inspired by you, they want to connect with
Mhm,
you, pick your brain.
mhm.
What's the best way for people to connect with you?
There's my email, so they can email me at contact@Luksimi. That's Luksimi. I know that's the weirdest spelling of my name. .com, or you can send me a message on Instagram. Hopefully, it doesn't get filtered out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining. And before we kind of jump off, for those of you
Mhm.
listening, please give this podcast a 5 out of 5 on any platform that you listen to. So whether that's Spotify, Apple, or Google, that'd be great, especially on Apple Podcasts. If you can comment, share, and like our stuff on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, that'd be amazing. And if you have any feedback or ideas on future guests or even topics, reach out to me at hello@thetamilcreator.com. Well, thank you again, Lakshmi, for
Thank
kind of
you.
jumping on, and yeah, and for those of you listening, look forward to the next one.